Hey there, Luke Carter here. Here's a quick presentation with some background about me and an overview of my career. I'll go fast, there's a lot of stuff. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana, and growing up I spent a lot of time in the law firm that my mother worked at. Eventually I started working in the copy room and answering phones, and whenever scanners were invented, I helped digitize all of the firm's documents. It was quite a task. The owner of the law firm let my mom take home the oldest computer they had, so fortunately I had access to computers from a young age. Once the internet came around, I was hooked. Around this time, Kristi Yamaguchi was skating in the 1992 Winter Olympics, and I did as much research on figure skating as possible. Fun fact, she was born on the same day as me. I printed so much material that my mom got pretty pissed and took away the printer. I went to a very small high school in Cade, Louisiana, and afterwards moved on to Louisiana State University where I was studying to become a doctor. I was a good student but ended up getting an F in organic chemistry and decided that medicine wasn't for me. I applied to Parsons Paris and studied there for a semester and finished my photography degree in New York. While I was in school, I did everything from bussing tables, working at Starbucks, a movie theater, an ice cream shop, and eventually I got a position at a temp agency with the skills that I had learned from the law firm. While at Parsons, I had to take a web design class to create a portfolio. I learned how to use Flash and ActionScript very quickly, so the other students paid me to help them with their final projects. With this small web portfolio, I got an internship at Huge in 2007. At this time, there were only 5 employees. While I was there, I met an amazing graphic designer who taught me the basics of print design. She helped me design my first resume, and I still use a similar style to this day. After interning at Huge, but still before graduating, I started to work with the Brazilian art director Giovanni Bianco. It was a very demanding job, but the work was exciting. One of the highlights was my work to help Giovanni design and produce a special issue of Vogue Brazil, celebrating the 10th anniversary of Giselle's modeling career and the 30th anniversary of Vogue Brazil's publication. We flew down to Brazil and produced all of the editorials within 2 weeks. It was the first time I had my name printed in a magazine, so it was a big deal, especially since I designed this page. After graduating, I did freelance work to earn money, doing everything from designing books, promotional materials, doing retouching, catalog production design, and one of the highlights of my freelance career was doing retouching for Annie Leibowitz's kids' school calendar. Later, I worked for Jeff Koons as a production artist. He didn't know Photoshop so well, so he had a team who could help him translate his ideas onto the computer. For a time, I worked the night shift at Condé Nast doing retouching with In Vogue, Men's Health, and Vanity Fair, and all of their publications. Being young and having the urge to try something new, I moved to Brazil with $2,000 in a dream. After 6 months, it didn't work out, so I ended up coming back to New York. Here I landed a job at a small agency. It was unique in the fact that there were no project managers. Each designer was responsible for a client. The only requirement was that the client didn't call with complaints. I learned a lot about client management, invoicing, managing assistants, and getting larger projects done. My client at the time was HealthNet. Later I moved to San Francisco, and this was around the time of the crisis, so I worked anywhere I could and landed part-time jobs at Whole Foods, the Container Store, and the Apple Store on Stockton Street. Later I worked at Williams & Sonoma and managed the updates to their Pottery Barn teen website. After that, I moved back to New York and worked for a company called Empire Design that created movie posters and trailers. My job was to adapt the artwork to different formats such as subway posters, posters for buses, and billboards. After Empire, I returned to Huge as a production artist and provided support to the visual designers and project managers. I had the reputation of working too fast and under the estimated number of hours, so I had to pad my hours a bit. After some time at Huge, I decided to give Brazil another try, this time with the work visa and papers, and I worked at my friend's studio doing print and web design. Later, I worked for Giovanni Bianco again in a São Paulo office and did production design work for his clients. These were some magazine advertisements where I placed the final artwork and I would inspect all proofs from the printer before they went to press for the magazine. This was an exciting project I did while I was there. The cover features a hand-drawn logo that I created. I also helped design for a variety of other campaigns. And after working for Giovanni, I took a position as the head of design of Aremo, an e-commerce startup. I came up with the concepts for photo shoots, performed all the retouching, and designed all of the banners and materials needed. Here's me testing out some lighting and giving a model direction. After Aremo, I was an art director at a small web agency called Debaser. I mainly worked on social media posts for their clients like this one. It was a pretty fun job. After 3 years in Brazil, I returned to New York and worked at Huge again, where I was a senior production designer for American Express. I handled all of the designs requested by the client after the initial round of design was complete. I worked under the direction of an art director and also provided specs for American Express's engineers to build the pages I provided and proofed their work. At the same time, I started teaching at Parsons School of Design, Interactive Web Design 1. After a year, I got recruited at Airbnb. While in SF and at Airbnb, I also taught part-time at the Academy of Art, Web Design 1 for 1 year. So, on to my work at Airbnb. I started as a production designer, and the first thing I did was create a 10-step course on my favorite application, Alfred App, which is kind of like Spotlight. Other projects I worked on included localizing iTunes screen stores in the 26 languages that Airbnb supports, and I created a Photoshop action to bring the length of this process from a couple days to a couple hours. I created an internal website that allowed for experienced designers to have a place to submit requests and find other relevant information. This concept was later adopted by the internal products team, and each team had a team page at Airbnb. After a month or two at Airbnb, I found it difficult to ask questions with the lack of a central knowledge base, so I created a 411 channel on Slack, and it was a place where anyone could ask any question at all, from where to park to where to get a copy of your payslip. This is an example export of screenshots that I exported using Appium and an iOS emulator. This was the basis for AirShots, but more on that later. AirApple was a site that I created that indexed images of design files so designers could quickly review previous versions. During the April launch of Airbnb's design language system, this helped the experienced designers identify what had been done before and try to avoid to do the same thing over again. AirApple was the inspiration for AirWTF, Where's That File? And this expanded the scope to all available sketch files. I always like to help other departments where I can. This example shows a homepage where I consolidated the many Google Forms that the art department used to receive requests. I also helped program hot sites for several teams, a design hub with the company letterhead and templates, another site for the presentations team, a hot site for the finance department, another page for our internal company podcast. And this is a prototype for AirBrain, a site that I created to allow users to bookmark different links for a project, whether it be a Google document or a box link. One of my bigger projects was AirShots. It was a tool that used Appium and an emulator to export screens of the app in multiple languages so designers could proofread the localized text and customer support agents could view the latest version of the app without having a device. An article about it is featured on airbnb.design. I'll send you the link. I also did work helping out the survey team. I designed an internal YouTube called Air/TV, and I also participated on the Adobe Customer Advisory Board, working with them giving feedback on new features of their enterprise products and their new design tool, Adobe XD. So that's just a slice of the work that I've done at Airbnb. If you'd like to find out more, let me know. Thank you.